a compelling invitation.
So then it seems to me, or your own passions, or your ego, or your fear, or your history. So let's say from this space, if I'm in this space that we're discussing, I'm nothing. If I get up and I answer the telephone, then I'm becoming Danny. As I'm becoming Danny, I'm taking on the history of Danny. Okay. Here, I'm just Danny. There's nothing in the world. But as I go into the world, I bring my history of Danny with me. So when you come to this experience again, it's not a historical Danny. It's almost like a parallel Danny.
So how is it then that when we seem to be free of the story for the moment, that the ego can compel us back into the story?
Because that's what the ego does. The ego is a compelling historical structure work.
What use is it?
In the world, when you live a life that is so totally ego-oriented, you are missing so deeply. So that missing has a date. The only reason that you're getting involved in such illogical frameworks is because that missing is activating the story. So the story is unknown to itself. When I meet my mother's story, I see this immense journey that she was on. But my mother had no knowledge of an immense journey. You have no knowledge of an immense journey. You have a knowledge of a mean-spirited little life trying to survive, pick up chicks, make money, loneliness driving it, consumerism driving it, excess driving it. So that you see in retrospect that it was a profound story of lost love and yearning and longing, that's unknown to you. Try to access that as much as you can, and you know it's not so. It's been a lonely time. It's been a longing, lonely, hurt time. So the mother I met was a mother that had an underlying hysteria of keeping things together in an impossible situation for all of us. The mother I met, then all the kids ran away as quickly as they can from a kind of madness. Mm-hmm. And they all repeated the similar situation. And I can trace it back to the 12th century of conversos, of Spanish Jews converting into Catholicism by falling in love, and but not actually converting, but by falling in love and intermarrying and having kids who were equally confused about who they were for centuries. And when they got to Brooklyn and New York, they did the same thing. They fell in love with Italian Catholic kids and had babies. Do you understand? And they violated their fathers who were Spanish Jews. So they had separation in their own mind, but this intermarriage was this body of experience. So through my mother's running away with an Italian Catholic kid, I didn't know that until she was here. And that she converted, and when I saw her sisters did the same, and they all hid it from her father, and that they all became Jews again when her lover died, when her boyfriend died. She said she went to the grave dressed in black for 5 years with my brother. They changed his name back to Sammy from Salvatore. And they were trying to make him Jewish to satisfy her father. It's a dumb story, but you see this story repeating itself for 1,000 years, throughout time. These intermarriages trying to reconcile themselves, the children having so many influences, not being anything with certainty. So to meet that story, you have to be free from the story somehow.
But that freedom from the story seems to be...
The organizing principle in the story won't let you see the dynamic in the story, that it's not your life at all. It's lives being lived and unfolding. But there is no authentic self. Your ego is not you. Your ego is sparing you the perception of the story that you're in.
So then why is the freedom from the story, for most of us, a momentary experience that cannot be sustained?
Freedom from the story is not to break yourself off from the story. Freedom from your story is being there and meeting the story straight up from a perception. So perceiving the story trumps the bondage of the story. The story is a karmic principle that has you ignorant of it. So when you perceive the story from the author's point of view, you see what's happening from the mystery's point of view. And from the mystery's point of view, the story is not about you. Okay. So as long as the story was about me, I could never meet a father who wasn't my father, but was this human being that I was deprived of meeting. I could never meet my mother as a human being. I could have empathy for her life, even give them kindness or a moment of kindness, because all we knew was the face of the mother and the father. The secret life was their real life. Did they make love? Was there tenderness between? Who knew? You understand? So to discover that was to make a discovery. Discovery was different than presumption. I could presume that they made love. I could presume that they had sex, but to walk in on them having sex is to discover them having sex. Changes the plane of perception. It changes your life.
So more specifically, you're saying direct knowing is wildly
direct perception, not knowing. Knowing is a way of avoiding the perception. I know they made love. So knowing spared me the